am not afraid of a child personally. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm smarter. This is so disturbing, but this could never happen in our society, right? Right? If you were disturbed by this, are you okay? Brain bleach bath needed. Hi, I'm Sam. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but I have read quite a few disturbing books over the course of my life, and I thought it would be a really fun and cool idea to tier rank them. I feel like I watched every single disturbing books tier ranking video possible in order to collect a list of books that would be considered disturbing by the booktube community. But I think in general, disturbing media is very subjective, and honestly, it's kind of a really vulnerable thing to admit that something really disturbs you because it's sort of divulging what really scares you. So if there are books on this list that I totally write off as not very disturbing to me personally, but they really messed you up, I hope you don't take that personally, and vice versa. The books that really disturb me might be total walks in the park for you. So this video isn't meant to be making fun of people who think these books are disturbing or trying to make people feel bad for thinking these books were disturbing. I'm just a silly little girl on the internet screaming into the void, and today I just so happen to be screaming about books that I may or may not think are disturbing. Okay, so I have created this tier list. These are all of the books that I found. So yeah, as you can see, I have 84 books here, and usually I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to tier lists, but I feel like with this ranking, I needed to actually name them and not just have like S, A, B, C, etc. So on the very top, these are going to be the books that have forever changed me. They have altered my brain chemistry, they've rearranged my chromosomes. These are going to be like the most disturbing books to me. And then the next tier down is, there was some psychic damage sustained. I didn't come out of it completely unscathed, but it wasn't like the most disturbing thing I've ever read. Next tier down is, I get it. These books probably weren't very disturbing to me personally, but I can totally understand why some people would find it disturbing. I have kind of an inkling that many of the books are going to end up in this ranking, but we'll see. And then the next one down is totally unfazed. So this is sort of like, I don't get it. Like, if you were disturbed by this, are you okay? Or, maybe that's more commentary on me. Like, am I okay that I was totally unfazed by this? So we'll see. And then the bottom tier, this is brain bleach bath needed. And I don't mean this as like, oh my God, these books are so disturbing. I think that these books are ones that I didn't like. I either need a brain bleach bath because I want to forget that I read this, or it felt just kind of cheap. And like, it's not disturbing, it was more so just the author like trying to be so shocking and really just trying to get like a reaction out of you, which to me is kind of lazy and not actually disturbing. So we'll see. I don't think there will be too many in here, but I created this tier for one specific book at least. So we'll see how many books end up in there. So we're gonna start out with Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. When I first joined BookTube, I feel like this was one that was on every girlie's disturbing books list. And, while I do enjoy some Eric LaRocca content, I don't think that this was the best thing I've ever read. And it did kind of feel like it was more so just trying to be so out there and so shocking for the sake of being shocking. So no shade to Eric LaRocca, but kind of brain bleach bath needed. I feel like that brain bleach bath is gonna mess me up so many times. The Collector is a man who kidnaps and like collects this woman. So this is one where I wasn't super disturbed by it. I did enjoy this, but I wasn't super disturbed, but I get it. I get how that could be upsetting for people. The Troop by Nick Cutter is kind of like if a Boy Scout troop turned into Lord of the Flies, kind of. I enjoyed this one. Again, I feel like a lot of these are just going to be in, like, I get it. Didn't really keep me up at night, but I see why people would be upset by that. Rosemary's Baby. Like, this is really good, and it's really good psychological horror, but I don't think it's disturbing. So I'm going to put that in totally unfazed, which, again, I don't know what that says about me. The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. This could kind of go, like, one of two ways, because part of me wants to put it in brain bleach bath, because some of the parts that I feel like would be like the most disturbing to people did kind of feel a little just like shock value. But I did really appreciate the narrative structure, and I don't think it was done in like a cheap way. So I think I'll put it in I get it. Anybody Home is like a home invasion horror. I don't know. I don't really remember a lot about this, so clearly I wasn't very fazed by it. Your house is on fire, your children all gone is like this kind of like cursed evil town. I really liked this one, but I don't feel like I was that mentally upset by it. So I'm gonna put totally unfazed. Devil All the Time is a book I loved. I get why some people would feel like it's a little too much for them. Utsubora, I hated this book. I think I'm gonna put this in brain bleach bath needed because I don't feel like I need to remember this book. I don't care enough about it, so yeah. Hunters in the Snow, I love this short story, but is it disturbing? I don't think so, but this was like so formative for me, so I kind of wonder if I should rank it more highly, because this was one of the first times where I was like, oh, bleak media is kind of dope. I don't know though, I think I still gotta put it in totally unfazed, even though I love it. Astral Season, Beastly Season, another totally unfazed. It's about like these two teenage boys who are obsessed with this pop idol who murdered her boyfriend. Yeah, I mean, it was good, but I don't think it was disturbing. Okay, now we're getting into the juicy stuff. The Pillowman by Martin McDonagh. This is I Have Been Forever Changed. This is actually a play about an author in a totalitarian state who is arrested because there's a string of child murders that start to really mirror some child murders that he had written about in his short stories. I think this one is just so clever. I still think about this one to this day. Baby Teeth, honestly, totally unfazed. I feel like all books that are like revolving around the concept of a potentially evil child, they just all feel the same to me. So, okay, honestly, with that in mind, I might try and find The Push. So The Push is another like, is the child evil thriller. I think that can be fun to read about sometimes, but I don't know. They do kind of all feel the same, and I am not afraid of a child personally. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm smarter. So, I don't know, maybe that's hubris. The Cormorant by Stephen Gregory. I think this is some psychic damage sustained. Okay, I feel like a bird is sort of similar to a child. Like, I shouldn't be very afraid of a bird because I could beat the shit out of a bird, frankly. But that's a testament to Stephen Gregory's writing, that he made me kind of creeped out by a bird. The Har, honestly, what I remember about this book is more romance vibes. Am I like wrong in remembering it that way? I definitely was not disturbed by this. This was like totally unfazed. Yeah, all I remember is like a freaky deaky romance. So correct me if I'm wrong. Ava's Man by Gail Jones. This is another some psychic damage sustained. This is about a woman who is arrested for murdering her boyfriend. And then the course of the novel is like really going into a deep dive about all of these interactions that she's had with men over the course of her life and how almost every interaction has been inappropriate and abusive. The depiction of trauma is pretty disturbing. Haunting of Hill House. I'm debating between I Get It and some psychic damage sustained. I think I'm honestly gonna do some psychic damage sustained. This was my first Shirley Jackson, and I don't know if I was just like in the right place, right time, right mood, but like the creepy vibes and the eerie atmosphere just hit me so right. And I feel like it's pretty rare for me to actually feel creeped out by a book. So yeah, I'm gonna put her in some psychic damage sustained. To Be Devoured by Sarah Tanslinger. I get it. I don't remember a ton about this, but I do remember it being pretty gory, but somehow it was written in a way that didn't just feel like it was for shock value. Audition. Honestly, what was most disturbing to me was how the men viewed and treated women in this book. So that's what disturbed me personally. We Need to Do Something. I really didn't like this one. That's gonna go in brain bleach bath needed, mostly just because I didn't like it. Come Closer by Sarah Gran. Not disturbing to me. This was like more empowering. So again, I don't know what that says about me, but I get it. I get why some people would find that disturbing. Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. This is pretty personal for me, but like I'm very afraid of surveillance and like Big Brother, and it's very fitting that 1984 is after this. Maybe I'll start with 1984, because obviously this was like the first book I read as a child that introduced me to this concept of surveillance, and I fucking hated it. I was like, dog, this sucks. I hate this so much. I hate the idea that this could be so possible and like is our current reality now. So anyway, that's my long way of saying, personally for me, the idea of surveillance and government control of my life is very scary to me. So some psychic damage sustained for sure. Little Eyes, I feel like was 1984 inspired for sure, but I mean, it wasn't as intense for me as 1984, so I'm gonna put that in, I get it. Perfect Days by Rafael Montes, I loved this thriller. This was like so effed up in like all the perfect ways for me. I love how bleak it is. Is it disturbing to me? No. But I get it. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. You know, these kind of books aren't really that disturbing to me at all, so I was pretty unfazed. I thought it was a good thriller, but wasn't disturbing. In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami, that I would say some psychic damage sustained. I've included the Japanese cover. I think this is the Japanese hardcover version, because I think that this like weirdo distorted face is so fitting for the story and the main antagonist in this. Nijigahara Holograph. This one definitely rearranged my chromosomes, but I don't think it was like totally because of the disturbing nature. No, I think I'm gonna put it in some psychic damage sustained, because the entire reason why I was so affected by this book wasn't just that it was disturbing, but the disturbing undertones were a part of it. So she's going in that tier. I'm thinking of ending things, totally unfazed. I hated the movie. I watched the movie first, which I shouldn't have done, because I think I would have really liked the book a lot more if I hadn't seen the movie. Hated the movie. In Praise of the Stepmother, I have been forever changed. That is super messed up. It's like these kinds of books that are so disturbing, but I still end up loving so much, I think disturb me, because it's like, how the f was I able to love this as much as I did, despite its awful content? So yeah, I have been forever changed by that one for sure. The Blizzard by Vladimir Sorkin. I hated this book. I hated it. So yeah, I'll put him in Brain Bleach Bath Needed, mostly just because I hated it. I don't think I'm a Sorkin girly, unfortunately. Diary of an Oxygen Thief. You know, I liked this one, which I think is kind of controversial. I think it was a fun time. Was I disturbed by it? No, but I thought it was fun. Dear Laura by Gemma Amor. I don't remember a lot about this. I remember liking it, but I don't think I was very fazed by it. Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, another one that I enjoyed, but I don't personally find very disturbing. If a woman is like going off the rails and murdering and butchering men, that's not disturbing to me, you know? That's like good for her. The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. To me, as soon as I started The Lottery, I was like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. And then like, that's what happened. So I don't know. I was pretty unfazed by that. Paradise by Fernanda Melchor. Definitely some psychic damage sustained. The violence against women is pretty brutal, and sort of like the nonchalance with which it's carried out is so disturbing to read, frankly. Of Cattle and Men, I get it. I wasn't that disturbed personally, but I get it. Tampa is another one, very much in the same vein as In Praise of the Stepmother. After I put this down, I'm like, dog, I loved that. Very disturbing content in that one. This Thing Between Us, totally unfazed. I love horror about grief, but I didn't find this one to be that disturbing. Hellhound by Ken Greenhall. This was like so fun, but it did kind of have similar vibes as Paradise in terms of like, we're following this boy who is so intensely misogynistic, among other many problematic features, and like the nonchalance with which he carries out his violence is pretty disturbing. I think I'm gonna put it in I get it, but it's like at the top. It's like I get it, and like I almost had some psychic damage sustained. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I've been forever changed. This is the most violent book I've ever read. It's basically just like this gang of white guys going about the Texas-Mexico border, killing and doing every awful thing you could possibly do to other human beings. The Handmaid's Tale, some psychic damage sustained. Honestly, similar to 1984, it's like, this is so disturbing, but this could never happen in our society, right? right? I who have never known men, it's very bleak for sure, but like there was never any point where I was like, oh, I don't know if I can keep reading, you know, totally unfazed. Gone to See the Riverman, I think some psychic damage sustained. I would say that this is probably more extreme horror. Again, it's one of those where if it was handled by a less talented author, it would be kind of cheap and feel like it was just for shock value, but I really enjoyed this one. Cows, this is the book that I created the brain bleach bath needed tier for specifically. Because it's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna have a visceral reaction to a book detailing someone eating someone else's shit. Like, it's not really an achievement. I don't think you should really feel super proud of that. I don't think that that's disturbing. I think that you just wrote something for the sake of shocking people, and I'm not very impressed. My Dark Vanessa, this was tough because this is about a teacher who grooms his student, and we are mostly from the point of view of the young student as she's like a child, and then we also like flash forward to her now as an adult. So yeah, this was pretty hard to read. I'm gonna put that in some psychic damage sustained because it's one that I still think about to this day. Out by Natsuo Kirino, I hated this book. I hated how it ended. It felt gratuitous. I didn't like it. The Girl Next Door, I think some psychic damage sustained. This one I went into not knowing it was based on a real case. And then I think like 3/4 of the way through, I learned that it was based on a real case. And then it just like kind of kept getting worse. And I was like, okay, we can stop now. Okay, we can stop now. And then it just kind of kept going. And it was like, man, hell really is other people. Lychee Light Club. Honestly, I love Usamaru Furuya, but this one felt very like gratuitous and like shocking for the sake of being shocking. So I'm also going to put that one in brain bleach bath needed. Confessions by Kanae Minato, I loved. I get it. I get why some people would find that disturbing. I personally don't, but I get it. Goodnight Poon Poon. I was really surprised to see this in a lot of people's list of disturbing books. This one felt more like slice of life to me, and I don't find that disturbing at all. I don't really get that. Bad Man by Dathan Auerbach. I love this book. There were so many creepy, eerie times, but I wasn't like disturbed. So I'll put that in, I get it. Of Mice and Men, another one where I was like, I kind of don't get why this is in your list, but okay. Totally unfazed. I mean, it's a great one. It's a great little short classic, but it's not disturbing. Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I get it. Yeah. Maybe you don't like bugs, and like the idea of waking up as a bug would be really disturbing to you. I really hate the idea that I would one day wake up and like lose my autonomy. So I get it, but this one didn't specifically disturb me. Lord of the Flies. This one I read when I was like way too young, but again, it sort of really opened my eyes to like, oh dang, books can be about like some pretty gnarly things, and I like that. So I'll put that in some psychic damage sustained. Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is my guy. This is my dog. This is my homie. Love this, but I don't think it's disturbing. So I'll put that in. I get it. Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This was pretty intense, but I was pretty unfazed by this one. But I guess I do get it though. A Little Life. Guys, what are we doing? Why is this in disturbing books? It's bleak for sure. Is it like an author making us fall in love with characters only to form an attachment so that she can then systematically disassemble them in front of our eyes and make us feel pain? Probably, but I wasn't disturbed by this. Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I get it. That one was pretty intense. A Child Called It. I also read this one way too early. I think I was like 9 or 10 when I read this. This is like a really brutal memoir about this man who was really brutally abused by his mother when he was a child. I think probably just because of how young I was when I read this, I did sustain some psychic damage. Never Let Me Go. I like hated this book. It's not disturbing at all. I thought it was really boring. So yeah, if I like were to like wake up one day and have completely forgotten that I read it, I wouldn't be upset. Blood on the Tracks. I've read this entire series, and I will say probably like the first few volumes are quite disturbing. So yeah, okay. All right, Shuzo Oshimi. Some psychic damage sustained, sure. Battle Royale, my love. I love this book, but it's not disturbing to me, so I'll put it in, I get it. Brave New World, very similar to 1984 to me. I read these literally back to back when I was in high school, so I feel like they are very synonymous in many ways to me. And I was so deeply impacted by both of them. I gotta put them both in some psychic damage sustained. Kevin at the End of the World. This was fun. I had a fun time with this. This was more like thriller to me than horror, so I wasn't that fazed by it. Hawk Mountain by Connor Habib. Another thriller that I love. It's pretty shocking. It's pretty violent in some parts, so I get it. I get why some people would think it's disturbing. It's not to me though. Lullabies for Little Criminals. This is about a young girl growing up with her father who is a drug addict, and they live in like the Montreal equivalent of Skid Row. So it's like a pretty harrowing depiction of this girl's life. Not disturbing to me, but I get it. Honestly, really in the same vein as The Night Always Comes by Willie Vlaudin. This is harrowing in a different way. We're following this woman who lives with her mother and her developmentally disabled brother, and they are just like dirt poor. The depictions of such extreme poverty were pretty bleak, but I didn't really personally find it disturbing. I honestly might put that in totally unfazed. Lapvona, I hated. That can go in Brain Bleach Bath Needed. Pen Pal, I get it. What makes it disturbing is that the main character who is being like stalked and haunted and pursued is a child. That is creepy. Killing Stalking, like, is it intense and like f***ed up? Yes. Is it disturbing? I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll put it in I get it. Case Against Satan is like one of the original possession stories that really gets overlooked. I'm personally not very disturbed by possession stories, so I'll put that in totally unfazed. Stepford Wives, I get it. Happy Sugar Life is honestly kind of similar to Killing Stalking in that there is a lot of like really intense, brutal, disturbing stuff that happens, but like, was I disturbed? I don't think so. Tender as the Flesh, I get it. Didn't really disturb me that much, but I get it. Yellow Wallpaper, some psychic damage sustained. This is about a woman who is dealing with postpartum psychosis. It was pretty intense when I read it personally. Blasted by Sarah Kane, I've Been Forever Changed. Another play. Guys, theater can be really f***ed up. One of the most disturbing things I've ever read, for sure. Gyo by Junji Ito. Honestly, like, if I were gonna say I was disturbed by a Junji Ito release, I feel like it would maybe be Gyo. Yeah, what the heck, let's do it. Some psychic damage sustained. Sure. The Deloriad I hated. That can go in Brain Bleach Bath Needed. The Omen, again, another, like, evil child. I mean, he's, like, possessed, though, or, like, the son of the devil, so I guess he, like, could be a little scarier, but to me, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not scared of that. At Night All Blood is Black. Some psychic damage sustained. Yes, yes. Laws of the Skies. This is like The Lord of the Flies if it was like a class of 6-year-olds, but it's like, it's such a silly, goofy time. It's like not serious, you know? So like, I get it if you read that and you were like, I can't sleep tonight, but for me, it's just like, it's a little tongue-in-cheek in a way that I enjoyed. We had to remove this post. I get it. This can go kind of at the top end if I get it. And then Garden by Usamaru Furuya. Yeah, that's the most disturbing thing I've ever read. So that can go into I Have Been Forever Changed at the very top. Okay, so that is the whole tier list. I'm like honestly really surprised that it's a pretty like even distribution. I really was worried that I was gonna put like every book into I Get It, but we got some loving in every tier. So that is it, guys. Those are all of the books that could be categorized as disturbing and what I think of them. So you can like this video if you want, comment, let me know if there are any disturbing books that I missed. If the book was not included, it's likely that I did not yet read it, so still comment that below so that I can add it to my TBR. You could subscribe, and I love you guys very much. I'll see you in whatever video I make next. Bye.